there's a chance that a lot of people won't understand why I feel the need to put things the way I do. One way to look at it is what's going on is people are trampling on sacred ideas, sacred ground, and turning people into evil. It isn't over with anybody until it is over. So when we see these people still going toward evil, it's not that, oh, that they're from people, their parents were led astray as well, and that's where it ends. No, they still have the opportunity. So they're basically like, hey, we're in hell, but they have the opportunity to leave, and they're going to keep abusing them. They're going to keep insisting that you fall in line in the cultural orders. And with the females and the community, they're basically saying, if you want to date this female, you have to show me that you are in line with the social order, okay? And you have no delusions of grandeur, quote unquote, that you don't think you're important. You could be from a foreign culture, a king there, and a very noble person, for example. But they're going to insist that here in America, you ain't shit, and you better relate to his daughter on a level of quote unquote reality, which is really the psychological construct in order for you to date his daughter. And then you must pass all the requirements for that individual family. And when she gets older, she carries that with her. She's like, hey, you're not that special, right? I've had females tell me, you're nobody to lie to when they're lying to me. Okay? It's such double think, it's so backwards. So the idea of the sacred female is the female who's accepted her place in the divine order in truth, right? In the divine order, as much as people don't want to hear, it ends with me. It has to be said. It is the Redeemer argument. It's sort of the bottom line argument, the point of no return. Okay, once you screen out this guy, other black people themselves can't do it. They can't be like, hey, you know what, I trace my roots back to Nigeria, right? This is like the American Mason angle. And, I'm related to his family too, and I feel this way, and, let's practice behind the scenes and make it seem like I'm worthy. No, you can't do that. You can't trick them. The people who are the most guilty are the magic card trickers. They can't use science and technology and psychology and illusion to replace me. Okay? They show signs that they're trying to do that to some degree. Obviously, they have the con perspectives. I've shown you the picture with Superman, who resembles Hades, who resembles Ryu, who resembles the Fist of the North Star. These are key characters in culture growing up. Right? Street Fighter 2 had a very powerful impact on society when I was younger. And they still make Street Fighter games, I believe, even now. This is like 25 years ago or something. This is way back. Okay. So, and the Fist of the North Star was, for those in the arcade crowd, and there's a lot more than you might think, it had a certain effect, right? They came out for Game Boy or something. Okay. Hades and the cartoon culture. These ideas are meant to have a powerful effect on society. And it gives these types of people, their body types, their image, a facelift. So it also puts a spiritual and moral burden on these people, whether they want to admit it or not, to say, hey, I'm not trying to cheat you. I don't think I'm Superman. I don't think women should date me because I resemble Superman. I'm not trying to cheat the Pharaoh out of his rightful place, and so on and so forth. Right? You see, I'm sure you can understand why I say this. And there's people who look at this and be like, hey, he's making it harder for this group of people, or whatever. I say things like these people resemble elves to try to be nice and courteous, and I'm basically using their websites and so on and so forth, Facebook, and they crack down on me all the time, even though I'm very gracious and courteous when everything considered. I don't pinpoint and say, hey, these are these 12 tribes of people, whoever they may be, right? I don't flat out say, these are the Jews I'm talking about. Homer resembles a Jew, okay? In most of my videos, I say they resemble elves, kind of smooth things over, okay? Let you figure it out from there if you care. Bottom line, it perhaps isn't so important because you know them by their works. I shouldn't have to tell you that these are crypto Jews and they're allies from the other two big, financially influential races. I shouldn't have to tell you this. Okay? You should know them by their works. Race shouldn't matter, but people are so full of false pride that I have to go the extra distance and say, hey, it's these races doing it, these types of people from their races, and so on. The guy, you see the homeless guy on the street, right? Sometimes they recruit these guys to help them out, and that has a very profoundly harmful effect on the community, for more than one way, right? People start to see these people behaving this way, and they start to see these things, and the hero trying to save the place starts seeing them as potential enemies instead of potential allies. So when we look at this thing, I can't go over it enough. I'm really a nice guy. It gets along with everybody. That's how I naturally am raised. That's what I'm inclined to do. But when they trample on that which is sacred, it's like a priest in a church, how it should be at least. Okay? Let's say there was a priest who was actually dedicated to God. He was serious about his religion. He's serious about his church. Okay? And you go in there and you just spray paint everything. You're defecating and urinating. You're just completely to the extreme. You're raping women right there and you're holding them back. He starts yelling and he starts saying, you're scum. He starts saying, God is going to punish you for this. He's trying to get it through your head. You're doing the wrong thing. Okay? We shouldn't expect them to say it nicely. And if these people are doing it because of some false pride, we should expect them to start saying, hey, whatever you're proud about isn't all that great, right? And to start hitting them on that level. It's stupid not to say that way. And I've been shunned to such a degree. I can go anywhere and their cultural fucking boundaries, their culture is going to keep them from opening up to me. Every house should be God's house. There shouldn't be a single place I can't go and say, hey, I am God's representative. I need to stay here. Or to tell an attractive female, I'm God's representative. You shouldn't reject me. I shouldn't have to explain this as such. I shouldn't be facing these barriers. They should automatically revere me. These people revere the rock stars and the rap stars and the porn stars, and all the other quote unquote stars. But the true morning star, the sun, right? They don't. They sold out for the fake morning star. Zeus, Baal, Jupiter, Helios superimposing itself on Ra's call center. And Ra only if described correctly. Not watered down with Atum. Not with the bullshit. But with the bull where he has submitted himself to the divine order. He's obeyed. The true Ka of Heliopolis. The true spirit of God. The true martial arts spirit that the West has been superimposing ideas on for quite some time. And it wasn't just Greece and Rome. Just like the colonists weren't the only people in the wrong. The whole world, the devil led the world astray. The Bible pretty much had that right. It led everybody in a worldly culture astray. Those who didn't receive the divine order. Okay, they led them astray. If you don't give this guy his credit, if you're not focused on the true principles and true martial art principles of being a warrior, and give this guy his credit, his rightful place, right? You're doing it on behalf of the world, your flesh. Why aren't you doing it? It's the principles. The principles. So I was cut off while I was saying, okay, who are you, right? Are you this type of person, right? And it goes back to, matter of fact, I'm going to use the picture for the whole video of Jesus compared to Narmer. Look at the kilt that Narmer is wearing and something comparable that Jesus is wearing. This is not a coincidence. The shape is similar. He came to bring a sword, right? The sword is in Narmer's waist, right? It's something that resembles a sword, if not a sword itself. Okay, that's what it's supposed to be. It is a weapon for war. And he's waiting for the right time to use it. And one thing I get from the picture is that he didn't need to use it. His opponent is so inferior to him, perhaps for lack of a better word, that he breaks him down with the mace, right? He breaks his knees and so on. He's like, look, not only is height not an issue, and we see this later on in the dynasty, the first dynasty, where this guy takes him on with a mace and the guy he's taking on is a long stick. The message is height is not the problem. It is your brain function is inferior. You are not supposed to lead. This guy is. He has moral supremacy and righteous indignation, has forged his body, and through the spirit of this focused falcon vision has he conquered this person. The snake is not good enough. The boar, the hippo, the jackal, they're not good enough. The falcon is supposed to be in charge because he's morally sound. Okay. So anyway, I was talking about the cultural barriers. I go up to a chick, right? In California, it's supposed to be one of the more accepting states, and in some ways it is, in some ways it isn't. I go up and I start to explain things, right? They're fanatically insisting on culture. They're going to hide behind mental health in a sense, because if it gets too bad, the community's going to start gossiping. It's going to go back to the secret society, social controller types, and they're going to say, hey, we need to send this guy to mental health. He's insisting on truth in a way that is effective, and we need to sabotage him and make him sound crazy while he tries to communicate the message. Okay? So you see how she's wrong. And the only way to be right is if she obeys. She can't say, let's meet halfway. She can't say, hey, you know what, let's do this. No, she has to accept that that all the cultures of America are wrong. She needs to transcend that with this guy and not go into a Buddhist temple, not go into church, because these guys are part of the propaganda cycle of this world, part of the cultures that are allowed to exist because they're part of the corporate state. Corpus means body. The corpse they're using is the wrong body in the wrong position. Why is Jesus being defeated in the flesh, which is what most people get from it, what they are showing? They're saying, hey, you're not him and you're not ready for this. And they all act like bitches, okay? And they cheat righteous people out of their rightful places, okay? This guy is supposed to be in charge, uniting the land as the leader, not being screened out, okay? It doesn't take a genius to see that. The more effective message to people who internalize things, okay, who have unconscious and subconscious mental processes is, this guy is victorious and you are the loser if you don't team up with him. Not you should be afraid of for your family. You should be, if you don't do what Rome wants, but rather you should accept the martial arts training, even if it means sacrificing your child like Abraham and Isaac's message was supposed to send. People don't get the true message of the Bible because A, they're not bred by martial artists, and B, they don't accept that their breeding cycle is inferior and they need to obey the true martial art culture. Okay, it sounds harsh, right? But it has to be said. This is the truth. Okay, this is a key truth that is what is needed for man to turn this thing around. Study the spirit pictures carefully and understand the nuances between seeing things a certain way and being in the spirit. Mind state, body state, soul state, spirit state.